Good morning. Welcome to today's presentation. My name is Alec McCutcheon from Unicom. We're delighted to be hosting today's webinar, which is presented by Rob Stock of Hewlett Packard Enterprise. The presentation today, the webinar, is on the theme of Hewlett Packard Enterprise Lean Functional Testing, Know the Difference. And Rob, we're delighted to welcome as presenter his many years experience of both development and testing in different business sectors. So what I'm going to do now is hand over shortly to Rob and just let you know that there will be opportunity for question and answer at the end. So if you've got any questions, please type them into the chat box and Rob will be able to take your questions following the presentation. So without further ado, I will hand over to Rob.
Thanks very much, Alec. So good morning, everybody. My name is Rob Stock from Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And as Alex said, we just want to take you through Lean FT, what it is, where it fits into our portfolio, and how you can use it to start building automated functional testing. So let's just take from the top. So if you think about our portfolio of tools, around the testing and application delivery side of things, this is basically broken down into 5 different areas. So we've got the application delivery lifecycle management tools, Quality Center, ALM, etc. Performance tools, load runner performance center, storm runner load, etc. Virtualization products, which is where our network virtualization and service virtualization tools fit. Mobile testing, mobile center, and app pulse mobile tools. But Lean functional testing fits in obviously to the functional area, and it sits alongside existing tools such as Sprinter for manual and exploratory testing, UFT for unified functional testing, GUI and service testing, business process testing around componentizing testing frameworks, and Lean FT becomes part of the UFT offering. So just as an overview of an agenda, I just wanted to kind of start off with an overview of what Lean FT is, look at the object identification centers, the application models, and talk about where it fits into the rest of the testing portfolio, whether it's HP tools or non-HP tools, and how it can fit into that whole ecosystem. So overview of Lean FT. As I say, Lean FT fits into the UFT, Unified Functional Testing tool, and if you have UFT licenses, you now get Lean FT. Lean FT is a part of UFT. It can also be purchased separately, so Lean FT can be bought on its own. If you have UFT licenses, then you have Lean FT. But also with version 12, 5 and above, we also brought out a runtime engine for UFT. So that's really the ability to run UFT tests, just on a black box that you can leave running overnight, or whenever you run your tests, just for the ability to run those tests rather than build them as a cut down framework. So just to talk about where Lean FT fits into that functional testing portfolio. We talked about the different tools, UFT, business process testing, etc. What's the point of Lean FT and where does it fit? So if you think of UFT itself, Unified Functional Testing, if you think of the types of the roles and the people who are using this, from if you take a technical scale, if you like, from 0 being non-technical to 1 being very technical, typically speaking, UFT users are kind of somewhere in the middle. They're around 50%. They understand what the business is doing from a non-technical point of view, what these applications are about. But they also, got the ability to build these automated test scripts, and got skills within various different languages to build those. So that's UFT. On the other side of the scale, business process testing. This is very much aimed at non-programmers, people who want to contribute to the test automation process, but don't have the technical skills to be able to do that. So, to be able to allow them to do it in a keyword-driven way, scriptless type approach, to be able to enable them to contribute. But Lean FT kind of fits into the other side of the scale. So this is aimed at very technical testers, development testers, dev testers, people who are working in the same language that the IDEs that the developers are using to be able to build those things. There's obviously no kind of hard and fast cut-off between these areas, but it's really the different tools are, the point here is that they're aimed at those different roles. LeanFT doesn't take away anything from UFT, and UFT doesn't take away anything from business process testing. They're all relevant. They're all just aimed at those different types of people. But if you are getting involved in dev testing, if you're building tests within IDEs, you've got that capability within your organisation. This is firmly where LeanFT is aimed. So let's talk a bit more about LeanFT and what it is and where it fits in. I mean, at a high level, we're talking about test automation in the IDE for agile development. It doesn't have to be agile in terms of methodology fitting in, but it's aimed at people wanting to build those tests, build those robust tests, make them work and make them work across all sorts of different technologies, not just web technologies. So just talk a bit about where it fits in. It's integrated within the IDE, so Visual Studio or Eclipse. They are the front end, they are the UI, if you like, to LeanFT. LeanFT then gives you the ability to start building your tests, integrating it with other development tools, whether it's CI systems, different testing frameworks, different source code management systems, but also building them in, today's languages, so Java, C#, etc., to integrate with those different IDEs. But also, like I say, the technologies are important. So it's about building tests, not just across web applications, but also across mobile applications, be they iOS or Android type testing, building across different technologies like SAP, obviously web, but Windows type applications, whatever those applications may well be, being able to create one test, make it robust and working across those different platforms. But the key part here is also, LeanFT is a relatively new tool. We launched it back in the early summertime, but it's also built on core UFT framework. So all that stuff that we've understood for years, and the way to make tests robust, the way to make them reusable, etc., by integrating them into the application models, etc. As I said, that's a core part of LeanFT to be able to provide that. So just in overview, if we're going to start building a test, and we'll look at building a test in just a second. There's basically three areas that we need to run through in terms of process. One, we're selecting our IDE and desired testing framework. So as I said, it's Visual Studio or Eclipse that we can select, and integrate it with those frameworks, whether it's MS Test, NUnit, JUnit, etc., or it might be your own custom framework that you've developed. We can go off and integrate with any framework that you may well have, but things like MS Test, JUnit, NUnit, etc., come straight out of the box and very easy to use. Once you've selected your IDE and the framework that you want to use, it's really just a case of defining the testing objects that you want, creating the scripts, and adding various different code verification to say the test, whether the test passed, failed, or whatever the status may well be, and then going off and running the tests and analysing those particular results. So here, just to kind of look at that, this is where we've got Visual Studio. So looking at a test framework within Visual Studio. Here it's a NUnit test because it's Visual Studio, but like I said, it could be an NMS test or JUnit. If you're familiar with NUnit, this is the way that we've structured the fixture setup. So we've got the different parts of this: the setup, the test, the tear down, things to do before and after the test, during the test, etc. But we've also integrate with the different object interfaces there within Visual Studio, define those different technology namespaces. At the top there, we've got on the third line down, we've got LeanFT and SDK, and we can say whether it's web, whether it's a Windows application, whether it's a mobile application, whatever it may well be, to be able to start using this. And the important point here is that these are all templated, so this is straight out of the box. You can just pick your own template for whatever that you want. Of course, you can create your own if you want to, but those templates are then available just to go off and start building those tests. In terms of building those tests, in terms of the SDK, behind that, this is all again fully documented. I'll share some links at the end of this to show you where you can look at these different things. So here's an example. We're looking at the LeanFT Java Sdk reference. And here you can see on the left-hand side all the different the contents available. We're looking at some scroll bar methods for manipulating scroll bar access within the particular application. Obviously, we can search for the different references, detailed examples. There's lots of videos, code examples which you can get from here to get you up and started. Typically speaking, I mean, kind of anecdotally talking to people who are familiar with building UFT tests, have done for years and years. Typically speaking, it probably takes the average person, 2-3 hours, really. I think, once they're familiar with UFT, to then move to starting building tests with LeanFT. So it's, a relatively painless approach. Like I say, this is the Java version, but there's obviously C# version of this available too. Once we've run the test, then it's a case of analyzing the results. So all the results come through HTML, so we can customize these results as much as we like. We'll get results obviously out of the box just from default running, but we can add anything that we like. So you can see the test steps that we've got here. This particular test, it's got all the greens with the ticks, so everything is passed and everything is good. And we can see the test step, the details, customize those results, as I say, and we can look at the host, the host that it was actually running from. So in this case, it was a Windows PC and how much memory it's got, etc., etc. So we can understand not just the results, but how it was applicable to the machine that they ran on. So if we just take a look at that, we just have a demonstration, an overview of what that looks like. So here I've got Visual Studio. I've gone in Open Visual Studio. I can pick my my particular template that I want to do. In this case, I'm picking an NUnit project. I'll give it a name, and it opens up that particular framework for me. So you can see there all the different parts of this where I want to add my code. The first thing I want to do here is select the different technology space that I want to use. So I can then just go and add, and you can see that it's integrating with the IntelliSense within the IDE, and looking at some of the technologies I've got. So whether it's Windows Forms, Web, Standard Windows, SAP, Mobile, etc. In this case, I'm just going to pick Web, give it a name for my test. Here I'm just opening an existing test. So this is going to run a test on Windows Calculator. You can see it's there saying Standard Windows for the testing framework. When I go off and run that directly within the IDE, it will launch Windows Calculator. It will perform a quick sum on the calculator, 4 add 6, and it comes back, makes sure that the answer is 10. So that's integrating with a typical Windows application, just as an example. If I go off and try another one here, so if I just open a web test, this is looking at a web application. So this is an e-commerce type application. You can see it's defined there as web. And the point of this test is that it will run through this e-commerce app and make sure that all the prices are listed in the correct currency. So if we select dollars at the top of the page, all the things are listed as dollars. We select pounds, and similarly with euros, make sure that they're all displayed correctly. So that runs through, and you can see there that the dollar passed, the euro failed because we've got some results there, and the pound is just finishing. The pound's finished now. So then we can go off, once we've run it, and launch the results view, and we can see details of what we've done. So you can see again, dollar passed, pound passed, euro failed. That's because the prices weren't displayed correctly when we selected euro, and we can drill down and understand all the details of why the test passed, what the test did, etc., etc. And again, you can see here the results of the particular PC that I'm running this from. So that's an overview of how we run it. So let's now look at how we actually get in and start building tests from scratch. So this is really integrating with the Object Identification Center. So the Object Identification Center, it's a software plugin which is part of LeanFT. Once you install LeanFT, you'll get an option at the top of your IDE to go off and start using this. And the point is that it's there for inspecting those different objects, looking at all the different properties and the values, so that you don't have to know what those things are. You don't have to know the details of what's behind your application, whatever technology you might be using. You can just go off and let this thing do the work for you. Here's an example of it. You can see there towards the right of the page, we've got the Object Identification Center, and we can hover our mouse over different things. Here I'm hovering it over an object of those headphones. It highlights it for me, and it understands all the tags and all the details behind it. So things like its name, tag name types, the absolute location, any attributes, class names, etc., etc. And you can also see there against the selected objects that I've got, there's some gold stars. Those gold stars mean to say that they're the recommended attributes to use. You can use anything you like, but it's there saying we'd recommend this to get, make sure that you've got the actual unique object and you're selecting the correct ones. And you can see there down at the bottom it says one matching object found, so that you know exactly what object it is. So let's have a look at that, so how that works. Again, come back to Visual Studio, we'll say a new project, pick on a LeanFT NUnit project, we'll give it a name, and then we can start to go off and build a test. I'm just going to call this my HP web test. I'm going to use the HP store to start using this as an example. So because it's a web test, I'll define it as web technology. So again, IntelliSense picks up, I select web. I can come down to the test part of my code, and I can start to build the test up. So the first thing I want to do is launch a browser. So I can just use the iBrowser command and select the particular browser that I want to do. So here I'm just saying launch, and I can go in and say what browser I want to launch. So the browser type, it calls, I'm going to select Chrome in this instance, but it could be Internet Explorer, Firefox, etc. To be able to do that. So that launches the browser. The next part is then I've got to navigate to a particular URL. So I'm going to put some comment code in there to say what I'm going to do. So here I'm saying browser locate navigate to, and I can go off and give it a URL. In this case, it will be the UK store for HP.com. So store.com/UK store. Then I need to go off and build what I want to do. In this case, I'm just going to go and shop for mice even. So I can launch the browser, I've navigated to that particular page, and then I want to navigate within the store to the place where the mice are. Now, I'm typing this in just as an example of how you could build your particular test. Now, in reality, I wouldn't have to do this because I'd use the Object Identification Center. But just because I know this, what I'm doing is that all that bit there is saying find a particular object on the page, i.e. the bit that says shop for mice, and click it. So that's all my test does right now. So I'm just going to go off and run that just to see how that goes. So it will open the browser, goes to the HP store, launches the page with mice on it, and that's it. That's my test. And you can see it passed, but there wasn't really much there. So now I want to then start to add different parts to the test. here I'm just going to scroll down the page, find a particular mouse which I like the look of, and there you go. We'll pick that blue one just because it's recognizable. So what I want to do is then launch the Object Identification Center and start spying for objects. And you can see as I move the mouse over different pieces, it highlights them because it recognizes them as those particular objects. But I want to get on and click on that See Details button. So if I click there, you can see that it recommends various different pieces. We've got the sort by, name, recommended. So I'm just going to select the particular See Details part and select that just as that attribute. Now there's obviously lots of boxes with See Details on there, so when I check whether it's unique, it comes back and tells me, well, no, it's not unique. There's another 18 of those boxes. So obviously that's not sufficient to use. So I'll just go and select the attributes that it actually recommended, and again check for uniqueness. And you can see this time it highlights just one, and it finds that particular See Details box that I want. So then I can just select that once I've within the Object Identification Center. It will then copy that code for me, so I don't have to create it. All I need to do is say click at the end because I want to click on that. So it's a lot easier than actually typing the code in by hand. It does it for you. Next thing I want to do as part of my test is check the price. So within this particular test, I want to make sure that that mouse is displayed as £13 and it's displayed correctly. So again, within the Object Identification Center, I can select that £13, check that it's unique, highlight it, and it will come back. Just found that one, so that's good. I can then copy the code and paste it into my test. So there you go, generate code, copy it back to Visual Studio and paste it in. But on this particular case, I just want to add that object as a variable, as a price item that I can check against. So I just say variable price item, that's my variable name, paste that code in, and then I just want to check that that particular price equals £13. Now I'm hard coding this into this particular test. Perhaps if this was a genuine test, I would reference some database or some spreadsheet of prices, etc. So now I'm just going to go back and run this test. It launches the browser, comes to the place for the mice, clicks on that blue mouse that we selected, and goes off and checks that it is actually £13. We get the results back, and everything in the world is good. You can see that it's passed, and it's got details of there of what we did. Went to the mice, and everything was fine. So that's the web link. And again, we've got more details of the host running that particular test. So that's the Object Identification Center. I mean, as an example here, I talked at the beginning about how LeanFT can integrate with all sorts of different technologies. This is just an example of using the Object Identification Center along with Mobile Center, our mobile testing tool. So we've got LeanFT talking directly to mobile handsets. In this case, this is an Apple iPhone 6 with a mobile application on it, and we're using the Object Identification Center alongside that mobile application, working exactly the same way that you've just seen me do within a browser. So I can there, I've selected that login box as my object. You can see all the properties that it's found. Again, I can then just copy that code, generate that code, and go off and paste it back into my IDE to be able to start testing the same application within a mobile platform. But it's also, the important thing here too is that if that is just a mobile version of a full web application, then I can write one test and it will work across those different devices. Whether it's Windows using Chrome, or whether it's that iPhone there running iOS. So that's the Object Identification Center. So the next part here is to be able to start to build application models. And the point of an application model is really to segregate the code that you're writing from those particular objects that you're working with. just previously you saw me creating the code and putting those object details directly into the test. Now obviously when I'm doing that, I don't want to put all that information directly in a test because then it makes it difficult to manage. The point of an application model is to build that abstraction layer. If something on that page changes, I can then just update that one application model and the object within it, and then it will just go off and update all the tests associated to it. So here's an example of doing that. We're back using the Object Identification Center to be able to build those objects. But when we're doing it with an application model, we'll get a couple of extra buttons down there. So one of them it will be to, instead of just generate code, I can then just select an object and add it to a model, and I can also locate it, a particular object within a model if I didn't know where it was. So I can build a whole library of these things. Makes it very easy to reuse objects and reuse tests. Here is looking at the model that we've got. We can look at this directly through our IDE. You can see the different. Here I've got a couple of objects within my model. I can see the details about them, look at the different properties associated to them, and manage them again directly within my IDE. So it's very easy to navigate, find these different things and reuse them. So we'll have a look at how that's going to look actually within the product itself. So this is the same test you saw me create a minute ago. Now I just want to create an application model to associate to that. So I'll come here, add a model, and it will ask me to give it a name. So I'll give it a name. I'll just call this HP UK App Store and UK App Store model for details. Launch the Object Identification Center and start buying for things that I want to add. So I'll pick on this red mouse here. So select that. Again, come back, select the recommended attributes associated to it. Check it's unique. It highlights that mouse. It is unique. And then I just say add to the model. So I'll add that object. Now I'll just come and back, pick on the add to basket link. Again, check the recommended attributes, check it's unique. It is unique. Add that to my model. And I can go on like that, adding all the different objects to my model so I can reuse them. You can see the couple of little things we've got. We've got the red mouse and the add to basket link. And I can also add different tags associated to these things. So for the red mouse, for example, I can add tags. This just makes it easy to search for things. So, I'll call it red mouse, call it wireless mouse, call it all sorts of different things. And you can see those things. And when you're building a whole library of that, it makes it very easy to find what it is that you're looking for. So now I want to start to add that red mouse to my test. So we've gone on, looked at the blue mouse, checked that it's worth £13. So then I wanted to say add my app model to it. And because I've defined an app model, you can see that it will reference the particular app model that I've got through the IntelliSense of the IDE. So I've done nothing more than added it, but it knows where it is and I can start to use it. So I'm saying here, I've given it a variable. I've called my variable app model. I can call it anything I like, but I'll just say reference that app model and then reference the mouse from IntelliSense that's added to there. So I'm saying find that mouse, that red mouse, and then click on it. And that will be my test to go and look at the details of it. So there, I'm integrating that particular code directly within the IDE. Again, just referencing the test. And again, I can come back to here and I can say, check where that add to basket is. You see it's successfully found one. So then it makes it very easy to build and start to reuse your tests. And again, like make them robust. Make them reusable so that once something on that page changes, when your application changes, you've only got to change one thing within your application model. You can there on the right hand side, you can drill down, change the reference to it, and all your tests will carry on working rather than doing it lots and lots of different times. So that's the overview, Object Identification Center and building application models. How does LeanFT fit into the rest of the environment? Obviously, people are using lots of different tools when they're working with these things. So it's important that LeanFT integrates. As I say, we integrate with all sorts of different testing frameworks. You know, out of the box, you'll get MS Test, JUnit, NUnit, etc. This is an example of running the previously seen me running the tests within Visual Studio, but I can run them within you know, an NUnit runner. So this is just NUnit downloaded from the web, and I can pick on my test and I'll just go off and run it. If that's how you're running tests now, you can integrate LeanFT tests like that, and you can see that the tests run and it picks on my red mouse. I can look at the results just in exactly the same way that I did before. So once I've run it from NUnit, I can see the results there, exactly the same results, and it says there that we've got, you know, our application model set up. It finds all those details and that particular wireless mouse. And again, I can customize these results as much as I like, but you know, we can integrate with all sorts of different things. You know, we talked about the IDEs, Eclipse and Visual Studio, integrating with those, but whether it's source code management systems, you know, tools like Git, Subversion, etc. When you think about it, what we're doing here is we're just producing code, you know, whether it's C# or Java or whatever it is. So whatever tools that you're using to manage your source code, you know, LeanFT will work with those. There's no special connectors, no special plugins, etc. It just works out of the box, and that was an important design decision that we made, that we wanted LeanFT to integrate with pretty much everything out there as it does. You know, whether it's CI integration tools, there we've got you know, Jenkins, but it doesn't matter whatever CI tools that you're using. LeanFT will integrate with those. You can do your builds and you can kick off a load of LeanFT tests just automatically straight out of the box without having to, you know, customize different agents or whatever it may well be to make that work. Similarly with testing frameworks, test-driven, behavioral-driven frameworks, Cucumber works natively with LeanFT. We talked about JUnit, NUnit, etc. But also custom frameworks. If you've got your own frameworks which your organization's building, has built, is using, then LeanFT will directly integrate with those also. Yeah, and also test management tools, you know, obviously ALM, our own tools it integrates directly with, but you know, whether it's Jira or whatever that you're using, LeanFT will integrate with those too, straight out of the box. In terms of technology support, you know, I said at the beginning that it's not just web. You know, this is the second major iteration of LeanFT which we've produced. So, you know, and right now we're integrating to those things. So whether it's Windows Standard, Windows Presentation, Foundation, .NET, Web, Java, SAP, mobile, iOS, Android, etc. But the plan going forward is to integrate with all sorts of different technologies. You know, being able to provide you know, wide range of support for pretty much anything that people may well be using. I mean, it's pretty broad technology support now, and it's pretty powerful. You know, the feedback that we've had has been very positive from all sorts of, you know, development and, you know, testing groups who have used this, you know, in terms of being able to build that flexibility to be able to create one test, you know, across all sorts of different technologies, so that, you know, you can build one, run it, and you know where you are. Also, you can, you know, look at the SDK, the Help Center. You can go and look at the LeanFT help, online help, by looking at that URL, and you can build your different tests and understand the different SDKs around that. Also, I should say that, you know, I mean, if you want to get hold of LeanFT, then you know, there's trials available. Best place to go out and get a trial is by going to that link, looking at LeanFT, so, or you want to scan that QR code, and you can go there, sign up for a trial, and go off and try it out. So with that, hopefully that was useful. Just like to open it up for some questions. Okay, so all right, so we've got a couple of questions coming. So first question, what IDEs are supported? So yeah, okay, so sorry, what versions of IDEs are supported? So we talked about Visual Studio and Eclipse. So in terms of Visual Studio, we support 2010, 2012, 2013, and 2015, which are available out of the box. And for Eclipse, it's Kepler, Luna, and Mars, which we support, so Mars being the latest version. And like I say, they're directly integrated straight out of the box. Can I use my existing UFT license? So yes. So as mentioned before, so LeanFT, just to reiterate, LeanFT is its own product. But if you have a UFT license, a full UFT license, you will get LeanFT for no extra cost. It's part of that license. So if you have existing UFT licenses, it means that if you update them, go to the support site, if you update them to version 12, 5 and beyond, as part of that, you will then get LeanFT, and you can go off and start to use that to your heart's content. But also, like I say, it can be purchased separately if that's what you want to do. So available in different ways. Can I use same application models across different browsers, mobile devices, and technologies? So yeah. So again, that's an important point, an important design decision that we took to build LeanFT, was that we wanted to make it easy as possible to be able to create tests, make those tests reusable, make them robust, etc. Part of the agile in terms of doing things quickly, being able to build these tests. So yeah, so if you've got, you can build application models. And if you're looking at applications which run on mobile devices, run on browsers, or thick client applications, whatever they may well be, SAP, for example, on a desktop PC, on a browser, on a mobile device, again, web application. You can go off and build those things. You create one application model, be able to reuse those things very easily. So another question here: can you convert existing UFT tests to LeanFT? If you've got existing UFT tests and you want to convert them to UFT, we don't provide anything ourselves, but we work with a partner, and the partner provides tools to be able to do that. The best way to find that is probably get in touch with your respected account manager, and we can put you in touch with those. But I suppose on the flip side of that, the question is, why would you want to do that? I'm not saying that you wouldn't want to do that, but it's really a decision that you want to take. Like I say, LeanFT doesn't eradicate any functionality within UFT. UFT carries on working. UFT is aimed at a particular type of role, a particular type of tester being able to do that. LeanFT is aimed at other types of roles. So you can do, but it may well be that you just want to carry on running existing UFT tests within UFT, build from scratch. It really depends how you want to be able to do it. The point of LeanFT is meant to be, to get you up and running quickly, building those tests as quick as you possibly can. So yes, you can, but on the flip side, you don't. There's no requirement to be able to move those tests. They'll still work as is. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time. If you do have any questions following on from this, that I haven't answered, then more than happy for people to get in touch with me. There's my email address there. Feel free to send me an email, and I'll attempt to get those answered for you and put you in the particular, up to the person that can help you out. So yeah, feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much for your time, and with that, I'd like to hand it back to Alec.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. Excellent webinar, and I'm pleased to advise that we will be making a recording available shortly. We'll send a link to everybody, so if you'd like to watch a webinar again or share with your colleagues, you'll be able to do that. So we'll be sending a link in the next couple of days. And again, thank you very much indeed, Rob, for a great presentation, and thank you everybody for attending.